going to be live for the time being watching this yearling cub up in the tree. And again, mom is not around. She has not been around this cub for, let's say, maybe upwards of 10 days or so. So this cub right now is considered a subadult bear, and we're going to zoom in on this bear because it's on its own. It's independent of its mother, and it's found a nice relaxing spot up in the tree here next to the lodge bathrooms. During the day too, you'll hear the radio that I have attached to my belt here sounding off as other things are going on around Brooks Camp too. And at any moment, we may have to just get the heck out of the way. If the cub starts to come down out of the tree, for example, I may move the camera a little bit. We want to be outside of the cub's line of sight. So it's the Wi-Fi signal. So, and of course, maybe our batteries are dying or something like that. So if the camera just dies, that's not because we're trying to hide anything. It may be just because we lost the Wi-Fi signal, or our batteries are dying, or we just need to get the heck out of the way of another bear or two. So we can't just expect this bear to be here. We can expect other bears to be walking through this area as well. So we had some bears in trees last night down at the mouth of near the mouth of the Brooks River. And brown bears can climb trees. We don't know what drove those bears, that family of bears, up into the tree, but it ended up, there was a mom and two cubs up in the tree last night around 10:30 p.m. local time here. They ended up coming down on their own accord. So again, we don't know the specific circumstances that drove them up in that tree, but brown bears do climb trees occasionally, and they typically do that when they happen to be stressed by something. So maybe they were avoiding a threat or something like that, but we don't know. We didn't really see what happened to drive them up in the tree. But they were around this morning, and they looked to be healthy enough, just sitting along the edge of the river.
Walking along the gravel bar, now it's turned around and walking towards the lodge.
And with this bear up in the tree, it probably does feel some level of comfort. I think a question about that just happened to come in, because it's come back to this tree at least twice before. So when we, think about bears, they are creatures of habit. So if they know that there's a place that they feel relatively safe or secure, of course we don't know what's going on in the bear's mind, but it must feel some level of comfort or security going up into this tree. Maybe that's because there's not a lot of other bears that frequent this spot. I don't really know. But since bears do climb trees when they are stressed, and this one happened to climb it, since it climbed it earlier in the day, perhaps it decided to climb it because this was one of those trees, A, that it knew that it could climb, and secondly, it knew that it might be secure in. And I don't know if you can see, but there's been some birds hopping around it this morning. The birds, they've been harassing it just a little bit. There's a robin over there calling right now. You're probably not going to be able to hear it across my microphone, but you may see some birds when they discover sort of strange things in the trees, like bears or humans. Oftentimes they end up harassing it a little bit, or just throwing out alarm calls like the robin is doing right now, like, hey, there's something here everyone should pay attention to. I'm going to zoom out again, for everyone, just to give you kind of an idea of what the area looks like. So again, it's in a balsam poplar tree. And the building closest to it that you see in the frame now, that is the lodge bathhouse. So right now that's pretty much off limits. We're trying to control the area around the bathhouse, making sure that no one happens to come around, um, to give the bear the space it needs. So if it does feel comfortable enough to come down, then there's no people interfering. I'm probably only about 50 yards from it, so I'm fairly close to the bear. Right behind me, you'll hear a lot of people walking by. You'll hear a lot of shuffling. Right behind me, this is one of the major people trails that I'm standing on right over here. So you might hear vehicles going by occasionally. But if anyone wants to use a public bathhouse right now, they're going to have to wait, or we have some vault toilets a short ways down the trail that they're going to have to go use. And then to the left over here is actually Brooks Lodge. So that's the dining hall for Brooks Lodge right there. And then to my immediate right, very close to us over here, is one of the lodge cabins. So let's get another shot of the cub in the tree here. Well, this cub has been abandoned. Yeah, so it's about a year and a half old. But it is. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Actually, now it's moving just past Boundary Trail. For campground? We enter this one. Going towards campground on the beach.
This was the same tree. Another question came in. Somebody was wondering, is it the same tree that it climbed to? And yes, it is the same tree. It climbed another one nearby here that same day, but it was in this tree most of the time.
Near the elbow for a long time, upriver along the track.
Yeah, and bears do vocalize. So this bear in the tree, we haven't heard it vocalize today, but it has vocalized. Sometimes they'll, and I have a hard time sort of, recreating that noise. But it's a bawling noise that oftentimes cubs make when they're distressed or they're hungry. They'll sometimes bawl. And there's a vehicle coming by right now, so I'll just stop talking for a moment while it passes. So bears do vocalize quite a bit, but they're generally quiet unless they're in an interaction with another bear. Cubs bawling for food from mom, they want a nurse, sometimes they'll bawl, or they feel distressed, they might bawl. Adult bears, they're generally silent unless they are interacting with one another. So they may growl or they may roar at one another. When they feel threatened, sometimes they will woof or they'll huff. So if you're hiking in bear country and you see a bear, if it's feeling defensive, you may hear it actually huffing or woofing. And they also make a very interesting noise that I can't recreate. It's called jaw popping, and it's a clacking noise that they make with their teeth. And it's sort of hollow sounding, like you're tapping on a hollow tree, but they sort of make it with their teeth, and I can't recreate that. But if you heard it, you would know it for sure. But those are the basic vocalizations that bears happen to make. Maybe one other vocalization that I almost forgot to mention is purring. Cubs, when they're feeling content and they're nursing with their mother, they will purr, and that can be very loud, and it sounds just like a cat. So if you've ever heard a deep purr from a cat, then that's what bear cubs sound like when they're nursing and they're content. Yeah, whether or not number 402 knows that her cub is around, I'm not sure. she has made really no attempt to relocate the cub in about 10 days or so. So this thing, again, it's on its own. I'm pretty sure the longer they are separated, the more likely it is that this cub is going to have to fend for itself. And that's what it has to do right now anyway. It doesn't have a choice. It has to get on with the business of surviving. Up at Brooks Falls last night, number 402 was there, and she was still being followed by number 856. So that indicates to me that she's probably not going to be looking for this cub anytime soon, especially if she has truly gone into estrus. We have not seen 402 and 856 mate, so I don't really know if she's truly in estrus or not. But you know, all the behavioral signs from those two bears indicate that she is. And you know, with 856 and 402, it's unlikely that he drove the cub away from her. It's more likely that she just abandoned the cub. We don't know this for sure, of course, but 856, when he first started following 402, he showed no interest in the cub at all. We never saw him go near the tree where the cub was up at Brooks Falls. We haven't seen him investigating areas where this cub happened to be. It's quite likely that 402 just sort of smelled right to him, and he decided to follow her for the opportunity to mate. But again, he has shown no interest in this offspring. So he may have had a role in the separation, but he was not the one who really drove it away. It was more or less Mom that, from my perspective, it seems like she ended up abandoning the offspring. And will all the noise, you know, keep the cub up in the tree? I don't know. You know, we want to try to minimize disturbance to the animal, but this is kind of a difficult spot for it to be in because everyone still wants to go about their business. Everyone still wants to go to their cabins. Everybody still wants to go eat lunch at the lodge. Everyone still wants to go bear watching down at the river. So since this is the main trail and we can't quite shut down the lodge for this cub, it may be disturbed a little bit by airplanes or by people here and there, but it has shown some level of habituation towards people. And habituation is really nothing more than getting used to something. So it's fairly used to the presence of people. It's used to the presence of airplanes to a certain extent. That's not to say that we can't displace it from areas, because we certainly can. But it has shown some levels of habituation to noise and to people. So as long as we're keeping our distance, hopefully it'll come down out of the tree. I hope it's not another 9-10 hour saga that like we had on July 1st. But we're kind of preparing for that right now. So I'm going to swing the camera around to a couple different perspectives to sort of show you. So I'm going to pan around, and I'm going to show you sort of what the trail and everything looks like.
Bar Bear is again walking towards the river.
So again, here's Brooks Lodge. Here's some people standing on the trail. I'm going to swing around in the other direction too, so you get an idea of the camp trail on the other side. So Lodge Bathhouse, cabin number 21, and then the trail. And the building in the background on the right side of the trail, that's the Brooks Camp Visitor Center. So. Exactly. Yeah, 2,000 people just saw that little dance. So. And again, if you're just joining us, we're just watching 402's former cub, now independent, year-and-a-half-old subadult bear in a tree near Brooks Lodge. They did this again on July 1st, and it was up there for many hours on that day. And there are some blog posts that I wrote about that. So if you're just tuning in and you want to get a background story on this bear cub, go to Katmai's website, www.nps.gov/KATM. And then at the bottom of that homepage, you'll find the Katmai Terrain blog. Click on that, and you can find some blog posts, or at least one that I wrote about this cub in the tree before. So you can get a little bit of background info on that. And also, if you're just tuning in and we may have to break free at any moment to give this animal space. If it happens to come down out of the tree, we'll just need to get out of the way. Or if another bear comes into the area, I don't want to stand here and let a bear walk by me, so I try to move away. So if we lose the Wi-Fi signal right away, we don't have a kill switch or anything like that to shut it off if something bad happens. But we oftentimes need to get out of the way of bears. So if we lose a Wi-Fi signal, that could be the explanation. So we haven't seen it feed this morning. It came through Brooks Camp around 9 o'clock or so, near the ranger station where I happened to be working. It was on it, just walking through on its own, walking slowly. It did get a fish a couple days ago, but most of the time it's out of our line of sight and we can't keep track of it. You can't really tell what the landscape looks like from my perspective, but when you're watching the bear cams, there's a lot of brush around. So when this animal is not on the beach, it's not right next to the edge of the river, if it's up in the brush or in other areas where people don't frequent, we really have no idea where it is, how much it's eating, things of that nature. So it's very hard to track an individual bear's movements, especially a young bear like this, just because they're so small and they easily hide in the willows and in the grasses of the marsh.
Bar bear is moving upriver, still on land. Corner. 415. What do you mean by
A question just came in, I think, from from Julie in Nevada, or NV.
And it's kind of now splashing around in the water.
It's unlikely that the bear is climbing this tree for food. She was asking, will the bear, eat sap from the trees? Bears in Katmai are not known to do that. However, black bears in certain parts of North America will eat the inner bark of trees. And there are trails that I've hiked, actually in Yellowstone National Park, where you can see dozens of trees that have their bark stripped off because of bears feeding on the inner bark. But this bear's not doing that. And when I've been hiking around Katmai, I've never seen any evidence of bears really stripping the bark off a tree to eat. They will mark trees an awful lot. They'll bite it, they'll claw it, they'll rub on it. But I've never seen a bear actually eat the inner bark of the trees around here. So right now it's just resting up in the tree, and you might see it shift positions every once in a while. And when it shifts positions, a lot of times we are getting prepared for it to come down. In many cases, though, it just, I'd imagine its butt is a little bit numb. So you can imagine if you sat up in a tree for many hours, your butt might be numb too, and you need to change positions.
I'm looking at your gear. That looks expensive.
Yeah, I don't know the cost of the camera.
If you drop it, they'll tell you.
I'm sure they will.
Many times over. Tripod doesn't look cheap either.
Corner platform.
Who makes the tripod?
The manufacturer of the tripod? No, I'm not quite sure. This is actually
on your iPad.
Yeah, this is actually my supervisor's.
Oh, I think I remember that symbol.
Oh, yeah.
Nice handle.
Yeah. And I should let you know too that we are broadcasting live on the bear cams here, so you're welcome to hang out and ask questions if you want to. But I just wanted to let you know that my microphone here is probably going to pick up anything you say. So.
No problem.
Yeah.
That's your remote platform.
Yes. So on the top of the camera here, this is the transmitter that sends it out to the internet, and the external battery for that.
Nice. That's a nice thing to do. The poor little guy up there. How long do they typically stay up?
Well, I don't know how long they stay in trees. Sometimes they just climb up for a little bit and they happen to come right back down. But typically when when a smaller bear trees itself in Brooks Camp here, right next to the lodge, mother is right next to it. But this bear was abandoned by its mom about 10 days ago or so.
Oh, this is the abandoned
Yes,
one.
it is, yeah. So this is the 1.5-year-old bear that's on its own. Last time it went up in this tree over here, it was there for 9 or 10 hours. So we're hoping it'll come down sooner than that. We don't want to have to stand here all day watching it, but
We just checked out of cabin 24.
okay.
Which is a good thing, because we can no longer get to it.
Yeah,
Stuff and
yeah, that's
everything else
that area's a little, yeah, a little bit. It's a little close to that bear right now. So, yeah, now it's shifting positions here.
Well, good luck with them.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, would we Squim Pat asks, let's see, would you get to the point to entice it down with food? We wouldn't. We basically are just going to wait. We're going to try to be more patient than the animal. Anytime that a bear receives food from people, and in the place it's in right now, there's no way that we could actually get food over there and place it down without that bear associating us with the food. Anytime a bear associates food with people, then it's going to remember. It's going to remember that experience. And bears that are conditioned to human food are oftentimes dangerous bears because they approach people seeking meals. They try to get into buildings. They try to get into vehicles. So feeding a bear essentially is a death sentence for the bear. So we want to just, again, give the bear space and try to be more patient than it, allow it to come out of the tree, and keep people away for the time being. There's no way that we could physically get it out of the tree unless we were to tranquilize it. We don't have any tranquilizing tools here. So we can't haze it out of the tree. If we go up to the base of the tree and we try to scare it out of the tree, it's likely just going to climb higher. Because with people at the base of the tree yelling at it, it's not going to feel any safer coming on down. So with the treed bear, you just need to give it space, you need to give it time, and allow it to come out on its own. Yeah, and Valley Flowers is asking, are there visual cues to know the general health and weight of the bear compared to July 1st? At this point in time, I wouldn't be able to say if it's gained weight or not. It doesn't look significantly smaller. I'm going to say that, at least, from when I saw it on July 1st. Many of the bears at this time of the year are going to start to gain weight. It's not uncommon, though, for very young bears like this, 2.5-year-old bears, 3.5-year-old bears, to look fairly skinny at this time of the year because they just can't compete with the bigger bears for the best food resources. So a lot of the younger bears that we see along the Brooks River are noticeably skinnier than the big bears that fish up at Brooks Falls. So whether this one has gained weight over the past 2 weeks or so, I can't quite tell. It's going to be more likely to gain weight in the fall after the salmon are spawned out and they're dead in the river, and the bear can just walk up and pick up dead salmon from the edge of the stream and find them very easily. And I may shut up for a few moments here. I may have to plug my ears. There's a large aircraft coming in behind me, and they can get quite loud. So if you don't hear me talking for a few moments, that's why. So the aircraft parked a little bit away from me now, so it wasn't that hard on my ears. Breed, year-and-a-half-old bear near the lodge at Brooks Camp. And there's another plane coming in behind me now, so I'm gonna stop talking until the plane happens to shut off this engine. Time that a ranger or human intervenes in a bear's activity, like if a baby is hurt or trapped or an adult appears very injured or very sick. Here in Katmai, we don't interfere with the bears if it's a natural occurrence. So, for example, a cub like this one is abandoned. It's going to have to make its way on its own. If a bear happens to break a bone or something like that, it can be very hard to watch, but it's going to have to heal on its own. We often see bears with really egregious injuries. Being injured and getting injured by other bears, that's just a part of a bear's world. Being abandoned, that's a part of the bear's world. Go ahead and answer. So we don't interfere with the natural processes as much as we can. Of course, there's trade-offs with that. We are in the middle of perfect bear habitat. Bears like to use this spot. So as you can see, this bear is right next to the buildings. People are walking by around it. We're trying to give it space, but everyone still wants to go about their business. So we're trying to allow people to do that too. And it's a bit of a compromise in those in these situations here. The only time that we would probably ever interfere with a bear and intervene is if for some reason, and this is in our bear management plan, which you can find on Katmai's website too, in the portfolio of management documents. The only time that we would probably interfere in a bear's life is if we had to kill a female who was caring for cubs. We may try to capture the cubs and place them in a captive facility. But if it's a natural process, an injured bear cub or a sick bear cub on its own, we won't interfere. We won't capture that bear. Logistically, it's extremely difficult to do around here because of all the other bears that we have, all the people that we have, all the places for the bears to hide. So national parks like Katmai not only protect the really nice things about nature, the beautiful scenery, the spectacle of the bears fishing at Brooks Falls, but they also protect the hard things about Katmai that aren't necessarily that easy to watch. Abandoned cubs like this, that's just one example of it. But we're trying to give it enough space so it has the room to survive, and it's been doing well so far over the past couple weeks or so, but we may never really know the conclusion of this story. Because if the bear wanders away into the forest and we never see it again, we're not going to know what happens. Not all bears come back to the Brooks River to feed. So we may never know the full story associated with this animal.
410 is in the channel moving upstream. She's out of my side at the moment.
Copy, thank you.
Is it available for 15 more minutes? So you can either put it back